The next paper that you're going to write is a combination of paper 1 plus setting. I'm using the same example on A&P that I used for the first paper, and all you need to do is keep what you wrote for paper number 1. Yes, you may use your first paper on central idea, or you may change the central idea if you decide that you have a better one. But mainly edit. If I ask you to revise that first paragraph, fix it up, edit it, and then add the new paragraph. Read the instructions very, very carefully for paper 1.5 and watch any videos that I have attached, plus the readings in analyzing short stories. So what we want to do in this paper is we want to discuss the setting. You know by now that setting is a time, place, social condition, and see how effective the setting is in complementing or reinforcing the central idea of your paper. Let's begin with, as I said, a good solid topic sentence. In this case, what you're going to show me is that the time, place, social condition, how you are expected to behave, is very effective in reinforcing the central idea in Updike's story. There you have set your clear direction, and all you have to do now is support it. Read the instructions. In the instructions, you are to support your point. How did the place, how did the time, how did the condition, any of those aspects, not necessarily all of them. You may not find all of them in your analysis of the story. But let's see what this sample paper does. In A&P, Sammy, the main character, works in an A&P grocery store in 1950. So we're mentioned here place, and we've mentioned time. It is a small town, and the boy works a mundane job as a cashier. The rule here, as far as writing, is in what we call open punctuation. Sometimes where the sentences are so related, you don't have to actually put a comma before the conjunction. But as a rule, I prefer that any time we use two complete sentences and they're fused by a conjunction, we should put a comma there. So back to the analysis. We're talking about a small town, and the boy works a mundane job as a cashier. Originally established in 1859 as a trading company, A&P eventually grew into one of the largest commercial entities in the U.S. at the time John Updike was writing his story. This is information that you obviously, or the writer obviously, got from some kind of source. And when we start using MLA, this type of information would need to be cited. You would need to have an MLA parenthetical documentation here. And we'll go over that when we go to paper number 5. So back to the analysis. An A&P is comparable in a number of ways to the Walmarts we're most familiar with. A&P is a large corporation that sells a variety of merchandise. And in the 60s, A&P would have been much the same symbol of American capitalism and consumerism as Walmart. These are, in a sense, institutions that represent conservative values, patriotism, and institutions and values like that. This setting, therefore, sets a mood for conservatism. And that makes the behavior of Sammy, the main character, stand out more salient, more serious. Here, the student here is connecting the setting of the A&P and the time to the mood that connects to the central idea, right? In Sammy's eyes, the A&P he works in reflects conformist tendencies of his community. That's right. He sees the store patrons as sheep or followers rather than independent thinkers. Right now, the writer is beginning to allude to social conditions as setting and behavior and the way that people were expected within that setting to behave. In the 1950s and 60s in America, people by and large conformed and were expected to conform. Sammy and the girls in bathing suits represent a rebellion against this conformism. I think that's a very good connection to the central idea. And this rebellion, according to the story, can have consequences when paired with the impulsiveness of youth. That links directly to the central idea that Updike suggests that youthfulness and immaturity contribute to impulsive decisions, and these decisions have consequences. Okay, I think this is a very good paragraph that uses setting to support the central idea. All right, a few comments about writing. I don't usually like beginning a sentence with a conjunction, but sometimes for effect and for flow, for fluency, it seems to work. I wouldn't do it a lot. Another point is that after reading up on paragraph indentations, indenting paragraphs, I discovered that the first paragraph, whether it's a matter of choice, but generally in MLA, the first paragraph is not indented. The point is that when you indent a paragraph, you want to show us where the paragraph begins. Obviously, the first paragraph begins at the beginning of the paper, and therefore you do not need to indent that first paragraph. Write your paper, look at the due date, give it a lot of thought, and send it so that I can grade it, and we'll go on to paper number 2.